Coach, how have you guys as a program built on your first playoff bid since 2016 this offseason?
You rely on, this is year 5 for us. So we want to be better. We want to take that next step in the program. And, kids that we recruited that are in their second, third year now get the opportunity to play with some departures, especially on the defense side of the ball. So for us, it's exciting to see the development stages of those kids maturing into, being good players for us. Nobody knows their names yet. I remind them that every day. Nobody knows what they're going to go against until they see us on Saturday.
Yeah, you mentioned the defense, and there'll be a lot of new faces, some guys that are going to step up that maybe didn't see as much playing time in the past. What is your biggest question mark about that unit?
The thing I like about the unit, we probably have more competition than ever. Like there's probably 5 to 6 corners that are competing for 2 spots. And, we always say that on every practice schedule, on shirts we wear on game day, iron sharpens iron. So to have that competition, whether it's at safety, corner, linebacker, defensive line, that's what gets me excited going into this camp. It's like that clay, and you got to mold to what type of team you want to be in 2024. We got a lot of new faces, probably 40 new faces that are here, but we're very intentional in our recruiting. We have a linebacker from Iowa State who has 3 years of eligibility. Well, guess what? He's from Wadsworth High School. That's 55 minutes away from here. We have a safety from Pitt, but he played high school football 30 minutes away at Central Valley in Pennsylvania. So for us, it was about, we got to work on connectivity. So we've been doing a lot of things this summer just to connect the players. And I feel great where we are at this point, but we got 35 days to mold this team and get them ready to play a tough-nosed Villanova.
You hired Pat Shepard this offseason. You placed more of an emphasis on special teams this spring. How are you seeing that added emphasis already make a difference on this year's team?
We knew we had great kickers. We got a great punter, great field goal, great snapper. Those things were evident, but we wanted to take that step. If we want to be a championship team, if we want to compete for championships, it's special teams. So the emphasis, not only on Pat Shepard, who's a phenomenal special teams coach. And I feel bad when I have to call a guy like Kurt Mallory and say, hey, we want to interview Pat, but Pat's from Pittsburgh, again, fits in that footprint that, what I even look for in coaches, that Northeast Ohio, Western PA, that toughness. But to see the time spent into special teams, we tell our kids all the time, you want to know how tough of a team you are when we turn on the film and see punt coverage, kickoff coverage. That tells us that's something we can measure. We can talk about toughness, but you can show it in your special teams.
Mm-hmm. Finally, you're playing 12 regular season games, obviously a tough non-conference schedule right out of the gates with no bye week during the regular season. How do you have to navigate this year's schedule differently as a result of that?
You have to put a lot of thought in how you schedule, what you do in camp. We got to be physical in camp. There's no ifs, buts. When we got to be physical, because the one thing we have is we got a great offensive line. We're going to hang our hat on that offensive line. And there's 4 of them that played a lot of football games for us. And they got to get our defense better. So short yardage, goal line, we got to do a lot of things, but we also got to give our guys some days. We got to make sure we are mentally ready, physically ready to go through 12 straight weeks with no bye week. Our bye week's at the end of the year. Just so I'm looking at, okay, if it's a physical practice, how long do we need to be on the field? Okay, on a Sunday practice in season, how much do we need to be on the field? So again, we put a lot of thought into it. But in our training, in our conditioning, in the weight room, how we're going to practice, and then depth. We're taking 9 running backs in the camp. So, intentionally we said, what, we're going to go get a lot of running backs. We're going to go get a lot of tight ends. So we got to have depth at those positions in the quarterback room. We got to have depth. So it's exciting because you put the pieces of the puzzle. Now we get to see how that plan comes together this fall.
Thank you, Coach. Good to see you.
You too, Callie.
Coach Phillips will go next to Aaron Walling.
How you doing, Aaron?
Morning, Coach. All right, so Coach, first question I have for you is I'm also with KVRR in Fargo. So question I have for you is obviously you've talked a lot about the linemen and some of the transfer portal, but what can you say about your young quarterback room where this is a group that you can continue to learn from and also have them learn from you guys and grow and become bigger and better players for your guys' program?
Yeah, the one thing I can, sometimes you lose sleep over your quarterback room. And the one thing I'm confident of that I sleep very well at night, we got 3 young men. They're all in the same class. And again, I always tell our guys, I'm not anointing anybody. You got to go earn this. We have Bo Brungard, who had an opportunity to play at times last year, whether it was returning a punt versus Missouri State or getting in the game against Indiana State and hitting a long touchdown run. And he's had an opportunity to really study off of Mitch. His dad was a 2-time national champion here at Youngstown State. So he comes with a lot of name to the Youngstown area. And then a guy like Brady Shannon, who out of high school could have went a lot of places to play quarterback, elected to go play baseball at UCF. He went to high school, right across the street from Youngstown State, wanted to come back, wanted to play football. And all of a sudden, now the competition has really amped up this spring. And then Max Blank, who's from Bethel Park High School in Pittsburgh, the 3rd young man in that class, is something different from those two. Max is a pocket passer. We call him Big Ben, big, tall, can throw the ball, where the other 2 had the opportunity to run the football, pass the football. So for us, it's like, who gives us best opportunity to win football games? But the competition that those kids, and they're a tight-knit group, to see that emerge through camp, I look forward to.
All right, and final question I have for you, Coach, is, a lot of schools in this area, North Dakota, South Dakota, Indiana, they have that Midwest, pipeline. But for you, obviously you really focus on that Northeast Ohio and, western side of Pennsylvania. So how crucial is it that you can pull players from schools that are like in Salem, Ohio, and all these other towns and counties in your state?
It's exciting, like I said, to get Karsten Marshall from Iowa State with the connections we have with Iowa State. We got our running back, Ethan Wright from Cincinnati, who I recruited to Cincinnati. He graduated, 2 years eligibility. He's right from Akron, Ohio, to get him in. So you never know where that ends. I recruited him 6 years ago, and to see that, and I think we're in such a great spot because of Pitt, Cincinnati, we got a lineman from East Liverpool, which is 50 miles south, a redshirt freshman, that didn't even look at us out of high school because he was committed to Toledo, but all of a sudden now we have kids that come back home. So the one thing you learn in recruiting, we're going to recruit you. You commit somewhere, we're still going to end in good terms because we never know where our paths are going to turn. And I think where we are in location can help us maybe take advantage of that portal when we need to, but also the high school athlete that we're getting right now is probably better than the high school athletes that we could have gotten 3 to 4 years ago.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach.
Let's go next to Neil. Neil, you're up.
Hey, Doug. You guys have always called yourselves a developmental program. With the personnel losses that you guys had on defense this offseason, how important is it for that kind of development to shine through with some of those new guys that would be taking those spots on the defensive side of the ball this season?
Like I get so excited for Mike Wells. Nobody knows who Mike Wells is, but he's been in our program 2 years, was a great basketball player in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, but he's been learning and getting stronger and bigger. And for him to get the opportunity now to gain that confidence through spring ball at Mike linebacker and now getting ready for a season. So there's a lot of names people don't know, but again, I truly believe we're a developmental program. Now, you also got to manage your roster. You also got to manage, we need competition. So to fill in some of the pieces where now we get the depth, we have the competition, we have the kids that are developing. In another year, you're going to see how well we develop the offensive line when we lose 3 of those guys off the offensive line that played a lot of football here. But we understand that when we recruit a high school offensive lineman, we're hoping, he's not going to need to play for 2 to 3 years. So we build that depth. And in practice, if you ever came to a practice, and I tell kids all the time, we rep our 1, 2, 3s, and 4s all season long. I don't care if it's game 5, game 6, our first half of practice. If we're doing inside run, I'm going to see our 1s going in one direction, our 3s going in the other direction, and our 2s taking over when the 1s are done. So you got to really believe in that and build it and trust who you're bringing into this program.
Also, you guys were picked 7th in the preseason poll after finishing tied for 3rd last year. Each year you guys have progressively gotten better since you've been at Youngstown State. What's your feeling just on, where you guys were slated? And do you feel like that will kind of give your guys maybe a chip on their shoulders heading into this season?
We have a chip on our shoulder every year. We're the far team that's out east, so we don't have the media. So we don't have any of that. And I told our kids in a team meeting today, guess what? No different. Being picked 9th 2 years ago, being picked 7th, guess what? You got to go play football games. And nothing against media, but what do they really know about offense and defensive linemen? So again, what we try to do is focus in on building a team, and that's individual stuff. And, if we can put the best team in 24, will we have a chip on our shoulder, guys? We're Youngstown, Ohio. We're going to have a chip on our shoulder each and every game. And we know how difficult it is to win games in this league. It's going to come down. We lost 2 road games by 3 points last year. And, those are probably home playoff games if you win them. But then the games that you do win, every game's going to come down to the last second. So you got to ignore all that preseason stuff, what players are here. I told them, nobody knows who you are. That's fine. Let's make sure they know who we are after game 12.